Hello, welcome to the Comic Book Club. I am your host, Jamil Payne, and with me today is my co-host, Amanda Coleman. How are you doing, Amanda?
I'm doing all right. You sound a little different. Anything different about your recording studio?
Yes, Amanda, I have finally moved into my house,
Woo!
my home, my abode, if you will.
New house, new president, new comic book, new shoes, new anything else?
Well, definitely a new president. I always have new shoes. I don't know if you know, but that's kind of my thing. Among other things, that's shoes are kind of my thing.
I've
So
noticed.
yeah, so I've got a pair of green Jordan 5s. They're lovely. Um, we moved in last Thursday. We're recording this on a Tuesday. So last Thursday we moved in. I took a couple of days off work. I'm exhausted, but I'm a lot better than I was yesterday. Well, I think I was up for like a full 20 hours. So yeah, I'm pretty good right now. I'm allowed two rooms in the house. One is our third bedroom, which I've made into my office slash picture taking room, and the den. Since we don't see no use for a den at all, that's going to be my toy room.
I
So
don't really know what else to use a den for either. What
like
is?
it,
Do we need to Google this? What is a den for?
well, excuse me, dining room, I should say. That sound
Oh,
like the dining room. We also have like a family room and a living room.
oh, that's a lot of rooms.
You would think so, but the thing is, I don't know what to do with a living room. Like the family room, that's easy, right? That's where everybody's gonna be at. That's where like your big sectional sofa go and the TV and stuff. The fuck you do with a living room?
Isn't that where you put the furniture that you're not allowed to sit on, right?
Yeah, that's stupid to me. That is maybe because of my age. Maybe just I'm just young because I remember that when I was younger, right?
Yeah, me too. And sometimes there was like even plastic on one of the chairs, like in my grandma's
oh.
house, it was like
Yep.
you for some reason she wanted that sofa to survive longer than she did.
Exactly. So well, I know for 2 months out the year it's the Christmas room.
Hmm.
That's a given, right? The living room is in the front of the house with the big window, so that's where the tree will go. So 2 months out the year, it'll be the Christmas room. After that, though, I don't know what we're gonna do for the rest of the other 10 months, but uh, home ownership is fun. So anyway, Amanda,
These are
we
these are
talking.
great problems to have.
They are. Like our next thing is the lady that had the house before us
Hmm.
really loved red to the point that all the carpet is red. A lot of the wallpaper is just straight up red. All the curtains are red.
Ooh.
It, it's no contrast. Here's the funny thing, right? When you went to go sign for the house, they have to be there too, right?
Was she wearing red?
She was wearing red.
Yes.
I text my wife and said she's dressed like her carpet. Nice lady. She's a nice lady. I just want to make that
Hmm.
clear. She's a very nice lady. But yeah, so like I'm about to and she loves wallpaper. So like over the next few weeks I'll be taking down wallpaper and getting like a quote to get this carpet out of this damn house. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. My wife's trying to say I'm taking on too many projects. And she might be right, but I can't help myself. Anyway, Amanda, so we are talking All Star Superman today.
Well,
But
first we have a follow-up from last episode.
we got a couple of follow. Yeah. There's two things I want to talk about, but yes, that follow up. Yeah. So Amanda, did you read the last two issues of Odyssey?
I have now.
And Amanda, what do you think of those last two issues of Odyssey?
I don't think of them.
Wow. Wow.
um, I so something I realized was that when I read, I don't hear the words out loud.
Right.
Usually. I just read them. So it wasn't the, whatever was going on poetically with the meter in the first 10 issues was much more subtle.
Mm-hmm.
The frickin' limericks made it so distracting that it was hard to read. Like I had to keep rereading it to understand what the words meant instead of just thinking about how they sounded.
Right.
And when you're reading something that's weird and trippy, the last thing you want to do is activate the critical thinking part of someone's brain. Right? Like you want it to be easy and effortless. And so the problem is I had to turn on too much of my brain to follow the stupid rhymes. And then suddenly I'm thinking about how everything doesn't make any sense, how it's kind of dumb. And then I'm thinking about all the questions you asked, which is, why is the maybe slightly more obviously Black-ish character the one with like the weird story about rhyming and killing everybody in like a really shallow way? Like they're like the other stories felt deep and emotional, and this just felt dumb. Like it wasn't really, like it was more just like a lack of attention, like a lack of caring. Like so many characters died and we didn't even like barely understand their names or who they were supposed to be.
Right. So
is that angry enough for you? Is that
So look, I listened to last week's episode as I edited, right?
Mm-hmm.
We sounded so annoyed with each other at that point. Like you was like, what are you talking about? Like I know it wasn't at me and mine wasn't at you, but we were so perplexed by how about what the fuck I was talking about, and I was so because you didn't read it. Now you was perplexed that I'm talking about something you didn't read, and I'm perplexed that you didn't read it. And we just like, what? You was like, yeah. What? And I was like, what? You didn't read it? It was the last 2 issues. Like, no, it wasn't. Like,
it's very interesting that they decided to not put those issues in the collected trades.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, from like a theme and tone perspective, I would definitely say that, I guess I get it. They're saving them for the next trade because they probably fit better with what's going on in that volume. But like, it's been years now.
You know what?
And I'm also surprised that Comixology didn't prompt me to also buy them.
Right.
That's the real thing. Cause like normally, I read one volume of Lock and Key, and now I go back in Comixology, and it's like, do you want to read this special one-shot locking, like just throwing everything related at me. And I'm like, are they trying to bury these issues?
Yeah, look, so Amanda, let's talk about unintentional racism.
Yeah.
So look, I understand it was supposed to be a limerick, right? I get that, but in my mind, it read as a Black person rapping, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But in this case, it is, because again, it's only because I feel like it's only in a rhyming limerick is because she's Black or more Black than the other people, right? Like I don't think in my mind there's no other reason why he would make this like the last 2 issues rhyming. In my opinion, do I sound off, Amanda?
I honestly have no idea why he would try to do this at all, ever, because it didn't work. So it didn't necessarily strike me as, it didn't really remind me of rapping because that's usually comprehensible.
Wow. But like a lot of the language he was using is is black or coded black. You know what I'm saying? A lot like if you have black people and you have rhyming and like he's an American, right? Ain't Fraction is American?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, look, he's an American. He knows black people and rhyming goes together in a lot of people's consciences because of rap music. And like you said, they do look a lot more defined than like Odysseus and Na did. Like, you know, Gamma and her wife looks a lot more black. Like you could clearly tell that they're supposed to be black, even if it's an abstract version of black. You know what I'm saying? From the way they look to what they dress in, and like it's only one of them things like a white dude would do. Like, and like again, I know he's not racist. I'm not saying that. I want to make that clear. I don't think Matt Fraction is a racist, but it's like that. It's like that weird, misguided thing that sometimes right creators do.
Well,
Do quote.
I mean, really, I think what it. Sorry, go. You keep going. Keep going.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I was coming to an end. Go ahead.
So, what I was going to say was really where the failure is this means that this book made it all the way to the printer before anyone thought of that.
Right.
So essentially, it means that no one black who might have been more sensitive to that read a draft or saw this at any stage. Because we're willing to give him the benefit of the doubt and say that this wasn't like on purpose. But that's why you have friends, that's why you have editors, that's why you have more people involved. And this just shows that no one else stopped it.
This thing I think is on purpose, but I think he thought it was cool. Like that's the thing. And like you said, nobody was around to tell him, I know you think it's cool, but it's kind of not.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Plus, it's a bad story. You know what? That's the thing,
That's
right?
the thing that really pisses me off, is it's just bad compared to the rest of the book.
Like, here's the thing, right? If it was good, I would have no complaints. Like, that's the weird thing, right? If it was good, I would have not one complaint at all. But not only does he use limerick, but, like, it's the fact that it's limerick with, like, modern language that just throws it the fuck off. It throws it all the way the fuck off. Everything else in this book feels timeless, right? Then you start throwing in chillax and shit, and you just like, the fuck is this? Like, it's such a tonal shift.
Yeah.
From the other 10 issues, and I just don't understand what was the reasoning for that. Okay, so Amanda, would you recommend those last 2 issues of Odyssey?
Sorry, what was that?
Would you recommend the last 2 issues of Odyssey?
I'm still just so befuddled at what you're saying. No, I would not.
Okay. Did you have anything else to say about this? Because I look like if you want to rank
I just wanted to publicly and officially say that the first 10 issues were great, and you were right about the last 2. I would highly recommend just getting the trades and avoiding those 2 issues.
Okay. Yeah. So, on to the next topic. I think we beat that dead horse enough. Amanda, so I meant to talk to you about this last week. You was on Twitter and you posted a black and white video of you dancing. Now, yeah. I didn't see what you wrote before I just clicked on the video. Like, oh, it's Amanda dancing. I always enjoy Amanda dancing. Did that sound weird? Anyway, I always enjoy watching Amanda dance. She's very talented, right? Then I hear the song. I'm like, is that Incubus?
Hey.
Like, who the fuck else listen to Incubus besides me? And I just wrote under your view like Incubus. Like, that's why I took not your dancing. I didn't take away nothing else how artful it was or anything. Just like, oh my God, somebody else listens to Incubus. So Amanda, please tell me your relationship with Incubus.
I just,
Hold on. Let me reword this. So Amanda, please tell me about your relationship with early 2000 post grunge band Incubus.
um, so it's really just, I mean, like I had that CD, Morning View, and I think when I was in high school and college, um, I probably had it on in the background like at least once a day.
Right.
And just kind of like the whole album is a really good groove. Um,
It really is. It's
and I was looking recently, I'm working on a longer term project where I'm actually just going to choreograph. I wanted to choreograph an entire album. So like I wanted it to be like a kind of like a pre-recorded performance, but the idea was that it's like you just put on an album and it's so good that you just want to dance to the whole thing. And I had a few candidates, but I sat there and I was like, what is of all the CDs, all the albums I've ever owned, what is the one that I can listen to over and over again without any of the songs getting super stuck in my head or driving me crazy? And I'll be able to listen to it at least once a day for the next year and still love it afterwards. And I was like, Incubus Morning View is probably the only one that fits the bill. Um, so I mean, that's really it. I never went to any of their concerts. I don't even know if I had any of their other CDs. I mean, I was kind of into like, generic rock derived music in general. I don't know. But yeah, that's it. That's the whole thing. It's the whole story. And I know a lot of other people our age who were really into that album.
it's weird because like I've been thinking about this like even like before you about a lot of those bands from that era. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? Like fucking like what's the more like Hoobastank, fucking Puddle of Mud, like Fuel, shit. Nickelback. Nickelback is from that era. Nickelback has been around that long that they're from that era of like this
Yeah.
weird. It's almost it's almost like grandpa rock and roll music. It's almost adult contemporary grandpa music.
It's kind of, I mean, around that time I was also like super into like Zeppelin and the Doors and like 70s rock. So it was kind of a little bit influenced by that, I feel like, but it was also very like modern.
like it is, but here's the thing, and I don't mean this as an insult, because I'm like you. I love that album to death. Like the fact that like the song you was dancing to wasn't even a single. Like and like I knew it from the get go. Like is that
Yeah.
that's like you know what I'm saying? I just knew it. But none of those bands are particularly great. I mean they're not bad because they was famous, right? But you could almost understand why rock music died. I know that's a harsh thing to say, but like this was like the last gasp, really, of rock music being like popular, and it wasn't that good. None of those bands I would ever consider great, but I love them anyway, especially Incubus. So Amanda, I guess we'll move on from our love from Incubus and late the early 2000s rock music. Today we are talking All Star Superman. All Star Superman is a DC published comic written by Grant Morrison with art by Frank Quitley. It ran from November 2005 to October 2008. The comic won several Eisners. It won Best New Series in 2006 as well as Best Continuing Series in 2007 and 2009. Amanda, do you have a synopsis for us?
I do. I was able to find a little summary. And I mean, spoilers already. This is actually a full plot synopsis I was able to find. So after receiving a fatal overdose of solar radiation from Lex Luthor, Superman went about completing several final tasks, including the creation of Earth Q, before flying into the sun to save it from poisoning by the tyrant star Solaris, repairing it from within. He left behind instructions for combining his genetic code with that of Lois Lane, starring a second Superman who would form the time-spanning Superman Squad that would defend Earth for all time. Led by the original Superman, emerged from the sun as a near-divine golden being.
So, Amanda, what did you think of All-Star Superman?
I thought it was fine.
Jesus.
I liked it. I didn't love it.
Okay. That's it? Nothing else?
No, I can explain in more detail, but what about you? How did you like it?
I love this story. Like, there's, like, this is the thing, right? I'm not one of the people that hate Superman. Like, he's never been, like, my favorite. But I love Superman. I love Superman like everybody else do. And, like, despite what people say, Superman does have some good comics, right? This might be the first or second best Superman comic I've ever read. Like, it depends. It goes between this and Superman for All Seasons as my favorite Superman story.
Okay.
And I think Grant Morrison, who as a writer I have a lot of problems with, gets Superman. I think British people get Superman, which is a weird thing to say since Superman is an American icon. And, like, I think Morrison gets everything that's special about Superman. Okay. So for me, when someone says there's no good Superman stories, this is what I tend to give them. Amanda, what? So you say it's just fine, right? So what makes it just fine? What is it that you don't like? I think we should get some of the negatives out of the way. What is it that you don't like about the book?
So it felt like it was somewhere in between trying to be mythological,
right,
and trying to be science fiction. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of really bad science fiction.
Really? You think so?
I mean, let me put it this way. I don't think Grant Morrison understands how numbers work.
Okay, so I guess I should explain, right? This might help you. It might not. Look, your criticism still may stand, right? But, like, what he's doing is, since Grant Morrison is old, I don't want to say old, but, like, his take on Superman is the Silver Age take on Superman, more or less. Which, if you don't know about Silver Age Superman is fucking ridiculous. And I think this was his take on that version of Superman. Right? Like one that is heavily steeped in sci-fi, but like really silly sci-fi. You know what I'm saying? But also a more hopeful and cheerful Superman than sometimes on how he's portrayed now. Do that seem like that make any sense to you? Because like when I read it, I got it. Like, I know where you're coming from.
Like the first page, I was almost like, oh no. And then there was dialogue from the first page that was in the cartoon, and my husband was in the room, and he said, oh no. Just like the temperature of the sun is off by several orders of magnitude.
Really?
Yes, things like the part where they're like measuring Superman's strength. That if he was holding something up that heavy, gravity wouldn't work on the moon because it would be heavier than the moon. Like, you would be floating in space between that instrument he was holding up and the moon. Like, there's just like all over the places there are things where they're like, oh, this thing is really big, or this thing is really strong, or this thing is really fast. And I'm trying to figure out like the scale of things. And I'm just like, you're just like making things up. Why don't you just like actually make them up and have it be more like sci fantasy instead of sci-fi? Um, and like it also seemed a little odd to me that like Superman has robots. Like I've never really thought of Superman as like the technology guy. I thought about Superman like fighting robots, but like building them was really a little bit strange. So but it wasn't
I,
pulpy enough.
I got you. I got you. I got you. So he's using these pulp elements, but it
No,
wasn't
no, no.
pulpy enough.
There's yeah, it's not pulpy enough. Like he's just
Yeah, right.
throwing junk out there because it's fun, but then he's like trying to take it seriously, and I'm like, no, 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 stop. Like you needed to Google search a few numbers before, like like if it's science fiction, you can't just say that something is like a trillion tons.
But maybe look. So okay, I love that. Like I've read this book several times over the years. Not once did I ever think about that shit. Now I'm a bit dense, but I love that like my nerd friend with her nerd husband are just like wrong, 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 and that's valid, and I love it. But I love because
It's
I,
not necessarily wrong. It's just I mean he was like not even in the room and he just looked up and went, "What?"
but
And just like multiple times he just was doing something else and looked up and he was like, "Wait, what?" None of this makes any sense.
what I'm saying is I've given this book to a million people, not actually a million people, right? I've given this book to a bunch of people and never read it. I have never heard this complaint before. I fucking love it. I have not once had no one ever said anything about the science.
Okay.
Because look, in our minds, it's just made up bullshit anyway. So, but no, I love this. No, 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 I'm not criticizing you. I love this. Please give me more.
Well, okay. I mean, it's not it's just a few little things like that that kind of throw you off balance and it makes the tone feel a little bit weird.
Right.
I did overall enjoy the positive, fun tone. I was just like, oh, like, why are you trying to make it feel like science fiction? Just make it feel crazier. Um, I have, this is completely off topic, but I have another comparison for this, which
Okay.
is in the Harry Potter series,
Okay.
the money in
Right.
the early books, a wand costs like 10 wizard bucks or something. And Ron's family is so poor that he can't buy a new wand for 10 wizard bucks.
Right.
And then by like the fifth or sixth book, they're spending like 50 wizard bucks on candy every weekend. And it's okay because it's just like wizard money and like it doesn't matter. But it does matter because you're trying to figure out it's important to his character, like what his family can afford and not.
Right. Right.
And so here, when you've got like, you've got like a gravity gun and you've got like, things, you've got this gravity subworld, you've got like all of these concepts. If you're just trying to keep them in relation to each other, like how big are things, how fast are things, how far apart are they, like how long would it take Superman to get there? Like just those sorts of things give you a little bit of a sense of reality. And in this book, after one or two examples where it was just like numbers don't mean anything, I was like, this isn't that type of book. Like I get it now. I get it now. Like it's not the type of science fiction. We just like literally anything can be made up and it's going to happen. And I just have to let it
It
happen.
is very like I said, it's very much Silver Age Superman,
Yeah.
where shit was just stupid. Where like that version of Superman could like bowl planets.
Hmm.
So we talking like 50s and 60s Superman. You know what I'm saying? They had like just the dumbest powers.
Hmm.
Like any power he needed, they'll just make up. And he was steeped heavy in the sci-fi. Like Superman has always been like a sci-fi character, and like depending on who writes him, they either push it forward or bring it back some. Another part of Superman character that like I found out is like Superman has always been like kind of a scientist and super smart, but like what happens is, and is as far as I'm my take on Superman, right? They don't talk about that much or deal with it much because if Superman is super strong, super fast, X-ray vision and all that, right? Him being super smart is just a bit too much. So nobody talks about it anymore. That Superman is kind of a scientist. Like this is all this stuff that's like blowing your mind. It's actually true to Superman. A lot of it's like forgotten or swept under the rug, like because like because of modern versions of Superman. But like he's taking actually big chunk of Superman history and trying to play it straight. You're not wrong, you know what I'm saying? But I do find that funny. It's just like if you're a person like yourself who only has like a what's it,
Well,
cursory
I
knowledge
mean,
of
it
Superman.
doesn't bother me because it doesn't feel like Superman. It's just there's absolutely no stakes,
Right, right.
right? Like it's just kind of like this is fine, but
I,
if Superman can make robots that are just as powerful as himself, like why am I reading the story?
so no, let's talk about the stakes, right? So like that's something like I always had a criticism was like nothing seems like important. It seems like he has like he's dying, but he's dying really slow, right? So there's no rush for anything in this book. So I've always figured out what the stakes is that he's going to die soon, but he doesn't. So like you're just kind of waiting around for him to die.
Well, and he knows that Superman continues into the future in some form. So
Right,
he also knows that at a minimum, his legacy goes on for thousands and thousands of years after he dies
right.
because he has his time portal thing because he can talk to the Supermen of the future. Why
Uh,
not?
by the way, there's one joke in this book that ages this book. Everything else can be timeless, but there's one thing in this book that ages it. Do you know what that is, Amanda?
I don't think I noticed it.
It's when he was talking to the unknown Superman, and the unknown Superman. I need to know who is J Lo. So I was like, it kind of dates the book a bit. They kind of dates the book a bit, but that's fine. J Lo's still important. But I just thought that was hilarious that Grant Morrison throws in a J Lo joke into his timeless classic Superman story. So so let's talk about it though. So what do you think of Superman in this story?
um,
Just as a character. Let's talk character.
I mean, I I feel like I wanted a little bit more of his psychology because, as we said, he's dying, but he's dying slowly, and he's got some sort of plan for stuff that he wants to do, but
Hmm.
the story's written so that the stuff is a surprise for the reader. So it's just kind of, you just kind of don't really understand what he's feeling for most of the book.
Right, right,
But he's now more powerful than ever and super smart, except he can't figure out how to fix this one thing.
right. So there's one eye rolly moment in this book, and it's not eye rolly in a bad way, but it's one part in this book where I just laugh so hard because of course he does that, and it's the most stereotypical like good guy thing Superman can do,
Mm.
and is that he cures childhood cancer, and I remember just laughing my ass off the first time I read that he should, because of course he does. Of course Superman cures cancer in a bunch of little orphan kids. Like it's just
Right.
like
He brought the miniaturized scientist with them who were trying to save him, and he let them cure the children. Yeah.
it was just like really like that's what we're doing. Like it is so smokesy. It's so like corny and earnest that it's just like. I give you that one. Like he he cures the cancer-ridden kids. You get what I'm saying, right? You know how ridiculous. The whole book is ridiculous, right? But like that's like he cures cancer, Amanda. He cures cancer. Like
No, but just for those kids though.
that's as far as we know.
Well, no, because it was specifically that there were miniature scientists flying around inside their bodies fixing their cancer cells. So
But
he didn't like cure the disease. He actually like literally like sent a cleaning crew into their bodies to kill the cancer.
oh, cause like in my mind, right? They just keep doing that for people.
I
You know what I'm
mean,
saying? Like they just stop with like the orphan kids.
mhm.
Like that's just what they do now. It's just they cure people of worldly diseases. But so yeah, I think I think Superman in this book, like you said, is a tough nut to crack. Is because he's so perfect, and I hate to say that, but because like that's always the criticism, right? But he's meant to be perfect in this book, and like I think Morrison does a good job of showing like how important he is to superheroes and how important it is to have at least one superhero like that. Like everybody else can be grim and dark and can murder people, but you need at least one superhero to live up to like those ideas that set forth. You know what I'm saying? When like superheroes were created, that kind of gotten lost nowadays.
I do think I mean, this is probably the most interesting Superman story I've read where he hasn't been made incredibly flawed.
Right.
Um, and I also think that, I mean, we, the Alex Ross Superman story from the Justice League volume was
Mm-hmm.
very good, but it was shorter. It wasn't sustained over this length.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that version of Superman would have stayed interesting for what, like almost 300 pages.
Yeah.
So I will say that this is a surprisingly interesting Superman, given that he's perfect and that we're not getting the psychology and that he's like way overpowered. Um, so yeah, no, I mean it's a success from that perspective.
So, what do you think of Lois Lane?
I liked this Lois.
Okay.
I didn't quite like her as much as the John Byrne Lois.
Right. Right.
She had a whole other level of sass. Um, like the John Byrne Lois, I was like, ooh, I could see why like Lex Luthor would have a crush on her too.
Right.
Like I was like, ooh, this is a Lois Lane. Why I understand why like Lex and Clark would be interested in this woman at the same time. She's got like facets. Um, but this Lois was like cute and smart and like not afraid of Superman because at one point when she's at his fortress of not so solitude anymore because there's an army of robots that live there. Um, she gets paranoid and she thinks that he's gonna like clone her or something, and she actually shoots him with a Kryptonian laser thing.
Pop the cap in his ass.
Yeah, that's ballsy, and I like it.
Right. So, I love this Lois, and like one of my major criticisms of this book, which I have very few of, is that like she kind of drops out after her issue,
Mm-hmm.
and I think this story would be even better if he's like doing this with her, if he's sharing it with her as they go through the issues, right? Like I can see a version of the story where all the same stuff happens,
Yeah.
but in between those things, he's spending time with Lois. You know what I'm saying? So when he does like die at the end or becomes a sun god, it hurts even more. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But we don't get that. You know what I'm saying? She just kind of falls off
Yeah.
after like her issue after the first issue.
Now I will say the Lois issue, which is funny because that's where we get Samson and Atlas showing up also for like some sort of weird dick waving contest.
Right.
My husband was like, Ricky was like, what is going on here? And I'm like, dude, I'm like, Lois Lane is super fuckable for like 24 hours. Think about it, man. Because he was like, why are these?
Jesus Christ,
He's
Amanda.
like, why are these other guys even interested in her? And I'm like, dude, you're not gonna break her for 24 hours. Like, you got to get in and out. Like, and and you just kind of like, oh, I get it. Is that not the point of that story? Have I ruined this? And
Okay.
is this also a comment that no one else has made?
No, no, it's not, Amanda. What the fuck?
Okay, so what other reason would there be for these guys to show up and just decide that they need to date Lois Lane ASAP, like today?
I don't know. Well, it's always like kind of been hinted at that like a lot of people want Lois Lane, including Lex Luthor. I think what I assumed, Amanda, was nothing like that. I just assumed that um Lois Lane just attract powerful men
Okay.
because that's kind of been her thing. Like you know what I'm saying? This ain't the first time like some superhuman in the comics have tried to put the moves on her over Superman.
But they
You know
could
what
have
I'm
put the
saying?
moves they could have put the moves on her 12 hours earlier.
Amanda, it's a story. Amanda, we are not gonna Amanda, stop right now. You know how this works. Do not. No.
Okay, that's fine.
God,
That's
Amanda.
fine.
They can't break up.
It's a spin-off issue that I didn't read where we figure out how Samson even knows who Lois is. I'll just go with
Okay,
that.
so like hold on, let's just follow that for a second, right? Superman, the most powerful being in the universe as far as we know, right?
Uh-huh.
Can have normal sex with Lois when she's not superpowered. Why can't nobody else, Amanda? Why?
I'm just throwing it out there. That was just I'm sorry. That's the first thing I thought.
Uh, okay. Mm. You know what? You supposed to say these fucked up thoughts for me. I'm supposed to say these things, not you.
I just have to offset my nerdy comments about like, the sun, the temper knowing I have to offset the fact that I know the temperature of the sun.
Yeah, you fucking dork.
I'm not all high class. I don't always eat in the dining room. Sometimes I apparently just eat shit out of the garbage.
Okay. Okay. So I want to talk about my other favorite character, which is Jimmy Olsen. I love Jimmy Olsen in his story. Jimmy Olsen is great. I love that he's like in like number one. I'm gonna tell you the skirt and heel joke actually works better in the cartoon than it does the movie.
It does.
It works like I think the movie. We'll get to the movie in a second. It doesn't do a lot of things better, but that's one. When he comes in like, why are you going undercover? He's like, no. Why would you say that? Great joke. And the way he looks at him too when he says it,
Yeah.
way better joke. So what did you think of Jimmy Olsen in this story, Amanda?
I really liked that he was sort of like a it seems sort of like a semi-influencer, like he was a lifestyle columnist. Like it was
Right.
like he would go try different things and then write about it. And so like half of it was probably like just his personality and half of it was, that it was actually interesting. But I kind of liked that for him as opposed to thinking of him as like an intern. It just kind of, I liked that role for him. And then I specifically liked that he used that versatile thinking to solve a few problems when he was like left in charge of the moon base and things went poorly.
So, damn it, I just lost the hell I was about to say about Jimmy Olsen. So, okay, now I remember now. Morrison threads a very thin line with him between being obnoxious and cool.
Hmm.
But he succeeds, right? Because like there is a bit of a douche in Jimmy, and you can see it, but it's not so much of a douche that like you're turned off by it, right? You get what I'm trying to say?
The specific impression that I got was that Jimmy Olsen was cool to like younger people, and
Right.
that like his older middle-aged coworkers were like, I just do not understand him. So that it was sort of like a he's cool to like most people, and if you don't get him, you just found him obnoxious. And I could also see some of his coworkers being like, what, he just like he just gets to go try somebody's job for a day and write about it. Like I could do that. I have to do research. Like why couldn't I just go to the moon for a day?
Like he has this certain swagger, but here's the thing about his swagger, right? It's earned. Like
Mm-hmm.
usually this type of character is not earned, right? But like he's been on so many adventures, you can't even tell him he's wrong for feeling the way he feels about shit. Like, I'm Superman's pal. Damn it.
Yeah.
Who gonna fight me? Nobody. So y'all gonna leave me alone. I'm gonna be cool. Like I really do like Jimmy in this. Like I said, they really do thread that line with him, like just right, right. So moving on from Jimmy, what do you think of shit his the science guy, Superman's friend?
Oh, was it Dr. Quentin?
Yes, yes.
Um, um, it's funny because when he first showed up, I don't know if he's like a pre-existing character. This is the first time I'd seen him.
He's not.
Um, but yeah, when he first showed up, I was like, oh, come on, Superman, a scientist who's doing crazy science. Like, are you really going to trust him? Like, I was sure that he was just like a Lex Luthor type.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and having him actually be good was like awesome. Like, he's like, oh, like we're genetically engineering people and we're like opening gateways into gravity wells and we're flying into the sun for some reason. And like, we've got this and we've got that. And like I was expecting it to go poorly. And
Right.
it never went poorly because he was a bad person.
Okay.
And I
So
can't
number
remember the
one,
last time that happened.
yeah, like nothing bad happened from him doing science, from him doing this crazy science. Number one, after the year we had with the president we had, it's nice to see that scientists are good in this book.
Hmm.
That's a nice thing. But have you heard about the theory about him?
No.
Okay, so mind you, Grant Morrison has said it's not true, so I'm tending to believe him that it's not true. But there's a theory going around that Quentin is actually a future version of Lex Luthor.
Hmm.
That like you know what I'm saying, that he comes back through time to help like basically it's a Lex Luthor that has seen the light. He's come back through time to help Superman as opposed to like doing what Lex usually does, right? Because Superman even says in his book, like, if we just worked together years ago, we could have solved all of humanity problems. And Lex
Yeah.
was like, nah, fuck you, right? So what happened if Quentin is actually Lex Luthor from the future come back to atone for all his crimes? And
Um,
and with that would be the ultimate win for Superman, right? Like you know what I'm saying? That like Superman greatest power is not like his super strength or any of that shit. It's like you know what I'm saying, seeing the
so
goodness in
so
people, and
you're saying he pulls a Vegeta on him?
he pulls a Vegeta. Now again, this has been debunked by Grant Morrison, and I believe him. I'm not with Death. I'm not.
Except we do have the Solaris, the tyrant son, doesn't Superman say to him, like, hey, like, I have it on good authority from literally the future that you become like an ally, essentially.
Right, right.
And like, I have to believe that like your redemption starts now. So like, we do have like that almost exact twist in the book already.
Right. And
So I see where people would make the connection, and
and go ahead, go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't know if it really I don't know. I feel like the Lex Luthor one would have been better.
So
Who cares about the fucking weird sun guy?
right. And like there's also that line when Superman gives Quentin his genetic code.
Mm-hmm.
And Quentin was super worried, like, why would you trust me with this? You don't know what I might do with it. And Superman, like, well, I like to think I'm a good judge of character, and I think I could trust you.
Yeah.
So like, Quentin apprehension about taking it could be because of his former self. Or like, fuck, like, I'm Lex, right? And what I can do with this. And Superman, like, I trust you now, right? I could, and like, there is that scene, like, where like Superman. Well, like at the end of the book, right, when Lex has the powers, right, and he can see everything the way Superman sees it, and
Yeah.
he almost like he understood all of a sudden,
Yeah.
like oh, this is why you're like this. You know what I'm saying? So I like that theory. Again, Grant Morrison says it's not true, so I tend to believe it. Like I keep saying, but in my head canon, Quentin is totally like future Lex Luthor.
So where do all of these super scientists like go to college on this planet? Like what like how do we have all of these crazy geniuses?
Well, that's the thing, right? Like this is the same problem with Marvel, right? Because Marvel is actually more science based than DC is. Like I don't know, like, and the question is, I don't know where all these smart people go. I feel like it's one of those things where like you have to be born that way, right? Like you know what I'm saying?
Well, like it's got to be like the same place that the like his niece goes, right? Like he's like he very conspicuously says he's like she's 16 and speaks 30 languages. Um, right?
Right,
Like there
right.
must just be like some like super scientist academy that they all go to. I'd read that comic.
I would read that comment too. It's funny. I feel like Batman would go there. And I feel like the only reason Batman didn't go there is because he had to keep everything secret. So, because I always seem like Batman just as smart as everybody
Mm-hmm.
until he's not. I'm like, why is that? Maybe because he didn't go to super science college like everybody else. He decided to go learn how to fight as opposed to like cultivate his intelligence. Cause like I don't seen Batman make vaccines before, so I don't know how to like I didn't even know he had that skill. Anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent. So I guess the last person is to really talk about is Lex Luthor. What do you think of this Lex Luthor and his motivations, Amanda?
Um, he seemed a little unhinged.
Right.
And it's interesting that we saw him sort of get closer to normal by the end of the story,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to what you normally see is growing crazier and crazier as the story goes on.
Right.
Um, but I mean, he fits the story. Like he's crazy and out there and like an irrational villain that you need when you have like irrational science fiction superpowers going on and stuff. I think a great example is at the very end of the story where he's meant to be electrocuted and he's actually hidden the Superman serum in his last cocktail that he gets with his last meal.
Right.
I feel like in a lot of other stories, like that trick would have been more like on screen. Whereas, and I think maybe this is kind of like what frustrates me about the whole like it's not it's like not science fiction thing is that like there were no on screen quote hints of that ahead of time.
Right.
We were just told after the fact, like, oh, Lex did this really clever thing and planned ahead. Um, so I think that kind of like, I think that kind of like frustrated me about the character was that we were, I guess, gosh, sorry. I think we were told more things about Lex than we were shown, despite having like an interview with him and having all of the scenes that we did get.
Okay. Okay. You know, I've always found his excuse flimsy on why he hates Superman about it keeps humans back. I've never understood that argument. But like they keep it up here and like I don't know. I always found that a bit flimsy. So I guess we should talk about the art. Frank Quitley. Now, that's Grant Morrison's go-to artist for like his bigger projects. And I'm gonna be honest with you, a lot of times I don't like Frank Quietly work. I think all his characters look like wet dolls. So, but Amanda, what do you think of Frank Quietly's art in this book?
um, I thought that it was good, but not amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that the colors really helped
Right.
save it. I will say that I think the layouts were really, really good. And I think that it was very, I want to say clean, like there isn't a lot of like extra stuff in the backgrounds or in the panels. So it's very easy to see what you're supposed to see.
Mm-hmm.
That's not trivial to do. So even if I, didn't like how specific faces were drawn or like, I don't know, costumes or textures or like if there were specific things that bothered me, it still worked. Like the layout still worked, the colors still worked, the storytelling still worked. Everything was still very good.
Right. So, and all the criticism of his art, I do think he do a pretty good job here, and I think the reason why I like his art in this book over other books is since it's Superman, he has to kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? Hold back his style a bit. Like he can't go full quietly because this is supposed to be like a classic Superman story.
Mm-hmm.
So like you kind of have to draw everybody more on model, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So but I will say the one thing he really does excel at is his Clark Kent to Superman transition.
Yeah.
His Clark Kent really does look like a different person.
Yep.
In a lot of ways. Like he draws, like his posture is different. He has like a double chin. He has like a gut almost. Yeah. So like it's really remarkable what he does with just the body language of that character. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I also have to say, costumes in this were pretty good.
They were.
I like this Superman costume. I like the Lois Lane Superwoman costume. I like a lot of the clothes that the characters wear, like that rainbow jacket that Dr. Quentin has.
Oh, like I want that. Like that's fresh. Like I would definitely wear that.
So like those design elements are there. Like I could like even the here's a great specific criticism. When Lois is in the fortress being paranoid about Superman, I hate how her dress is drawn, but I still like the idea of the dress. She's got like a floor length purple,
oh my God,
low back halter dress, and
it's just me.
It's drawn in like the shittiest way possible, but I'm still like, no, I get what you thought you were drawing and I love it. And then like when she ties it up so she can run, I'm like, yes, this is
That
awesome.
that attention to detail blew my mind that they did that.
Yeah.
Because I don't think nobody else would even thought about that. And I agree with you with the dress. I thought because at some point it looks like a jumpsuit for some reason. Like she
Well,
almost got on.
it's like he tried to draw it as though it was like so long that it was like trailing on the floor, and it ends up just looking like, yeah, like she's wearing like pants or something, or like a tube. I don't know.
Yes, yes, okay.
So that's a really good example. Is like I still love the dress. I love what it tells me about her character. It works, but I actually just think it was drawn kind of poorly in a few spots,
Okay, okay.
which
So
may also be, I mean, just looking at the timeline that this book came out on. I mean, if getting this book out on time meant that there were a few panels where the dress didn't look good, that's fine.
and they was on a bi-monthly schedule that they pretty much stuck to,
Hmm.
which I applaud. You know what I'm saying? That like they stuck to that. Unlike Jeff Jones and Gary Frank.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna get into Doomsday Clock again.
Mhm.
So Amanda, so let's talk about the movie
Yes.
right quick. What did you think of the movie?
I thought it was, I mean, it was almost exactly like the comic book. So
Right.
I have kind of the same feeling about it, which is, oh, I wish it was a little bit pulpier. Um, like I felt like some of the same things about the characters, like essentially wishing that we saw more of all the characters, wishing that we understood what Superman was feeling a little bit more. Um, I did notice that we were missing the Bizarro plot
Yes.
line, and that we were also missing where the future Superman came back.
Right.
Um, And I think there was one other thing I noticed that we were missing. But I understood why they would do that to make it a reasonable runtime.
So my problem with this is that well, and this is always a problem when stuff get translated from book to show. I mean,
Hmm.
book to like film or TV show is like I feel like they take off lot of the heart in the book. Like the Bizarro stuff. Maybe you can leave out, even though I think visually that might be the most interesting thing in the book visually. You know what I'm saying? That story is bonkers, and
Hmm.
I would have loved to see the adaptation of that. But the part with his dad, I think I hate that it's not in there, because I think like a lot of the heart of the book comes from that. And like I always hate that they get rid of the little character moments in when they adapt it, right?
Yeah.
And like they don't really replace it with anything. So that would be my complaint. That it seems like the Cliff Notes version of that story.
Yeah.
So, what do you think of the ending where Superman becomes a sun god in the sun, just fixing it?
I mean, I I think it's appropriate.
Because I was
Um,
like, oh, of course, he becomes Jesus. Like, of course he becomes son Jesus. Like, that's what he does,
I
right?
mean, there isn't really anywhere for him to escalate beyond that, right?
Right, right, right. But becomes son God. I also like the picture of him doing that. It's very reminiscent of that Art Deco painting of like this, almost the exact same as that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, I think the ending was pretty good. I believe the ending in the cartoon is actually a little bit better, just because they had that part with Lex Luthor and Quentin.
Hmm.
Is that in the book? I can't remember if that part is in the book or not.
I don't think it was.
Yeah, I actually do like that part because it makes him even more repentant, and the fact that he was going to accept his fate. He was like, "Well, if you want to be free, I'll always be free if I wanted to be free, but I'm gonna take like my licks this time." If that's not future Lex Luthor he's talking to, but whatever. It's not true. It's not true. Gotta keep telling myself that. So Amanda, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I did have a little back and forth. My husband actually didn't like he didn't like Superman's face in the cartoon.
Really?
And I think it might be just because we're very like 90s like Justice League, like Bruce Timm design is probably like just more of like what he would be used to seeing.
Right.
I thought it was I got a little bit of like a like Greco-Roman vibe, like statue,
Yeah.
almost maybe almost slightly Henry Cavill looking, with
I
like the
was
well-defined chin and like the bigger lips and like the flat nose.
I was gonna say a little more like Sylvester Stallone a little bit, but
Yeah. Yeah, no,
like
no, it's exactly like that type of statue face,
right.
statuesque face. Ricky thought it was a little bit weird, but like I said, that may just be because when you think Superman cartoon, we're thinking Bruce Timm Justice League.
And I also think maybe quality Frank Quality's art might be
Hmm.
a little hard to transfer to animation.
Yeah, I mean, many of the shots in the cartoon were just specific panels,
Right.
which I thought was really great because so so often, especially talking about the DC live action movies, we're just like, how did they adapt this comic book poorly? Like they could have just used the comic book as the storyboards.
Yeah.
Like why did they change it? So I love that they kept so many of the like I recognized them when they showed up. I was like, "Ooh, yeah, that was in the comic book."
Yes. So Amanda, I think we've talked a lot about this. Would you recommend All Star Superman?
Yes, but if it's because somebody's, as you were saying, if it's because somebody wants to be convinced that there's a good Superman story, I think I would probably recommend that Alex Ross story first.
Right. Okay. Okay.
So, yes, I would recommend it, but it's not my top Superman book.
All right. I would definitely recommend this. Like I said, this and Superman for All Seasons are like my two favorite Superman stories. So I would definitely recommend it. And at some point, we'll probably read like Superman for All Seasons. So Amanda, if people want to talk to us about Doom Orphans from the planet Krypton, what can they reach us?
We are on Twitter as Comic Book Club 52. They could email
Hmm.
us, comicbookclub52 at gmail, and we are on Facebook as the Comic Book Club.
Right. And next week, well, not next week, a couple of weeks from now, to continue with this more hopeful story, this more hopeful tone at the end of this year. And I think this book is hopeful because everybody like raves about it. So hopefully it's hopeful. Hopefully it's not grim. But we're reading Amanda, what's his name again? Because I want to butcher it.
Chip Zdarsky.
Yes, we're reading his Spider-Man story, Spider-Man life story. That's what we will be reading next time. I haven't read it. I know Amanda hasn't read it, so this should be pretty good. So with that, I am Jamil Payne.
I'm Amanda Comey.
We are